Irene could imagine herself continuing on over the thin crust, holding the bow in her left hand, letting the other hand warm in her pocket. Continuing over light dunes of snow, pausing in an area of large flakes, the size of fingernails, individual snowflakes, their branches visible, lying at angles, razor thin. They looked ornamental, contrived, too large and individual to be real. So sorry it's such a mess and out of control. I really have no idea what I'm doing. The first time I really learned this was when I was writing Kwam Island in the middle of Legend of a Suicide. I didn't see the big event that happens halfway through. I didn't see it until I was halfway through writing the sentence. I had no idea that was coming. I was writing to a completely different end. So what I realized then was that I wrote all those pages and had no idea what they were about. That there was actually a pattern to them. There was cohesion, there was meaning to them that was beyond anything I'd planned or outlined or knew even was going on. And that's the first time I discovered that writing really is an unconscious act. It's the unconscious transforming this material from my past into something else. And that act that it performs of transformation, I think is a pretty marvelous thing. That's why I write. I think it's amazing that it can take something ugly and make it lovely, that it can give you a second chance and redeem what had happened before, and that it can also flip things and surprise you so that you have a new way to say something.
So, what kind of novel it is?
So it's there's no Alaska, no suicide, no father. It's a mother and son, a young man and his mother, in a very hot, burning landscape, the middle of California summer in the Central Valley, mostly in a walnut orchard. And I loved writing about this hot, burning landscape after writing 2 books set in Alaska. And it's a strange one. It's freaky. It's going to get me in real trouble with my mother and her family. It did use a few details about their family. Yeah, I really think that a writer is the worst thing that can happen to a family. And my mother has been so supportive of my writing because I've always written about my father's side of the family. And that's going to change in May.
But it's about what? It's about what? It's about you again.
Well, it's set in 1985 California, so it's about the New Age movement. It's partly about how philosophy leads to brutality.
Did you have an idea what kind of book you wanted to write after that first one?
Yeah, there was something about, it had been so heavy writing about my father. I actually wanted to write something light. No one's asked me this before. And I'm remembering that I read this book by Tom Drury called The End of Vandalism. I read that novel and it was so funny. It's hilarious. They're in Iowa, a small town, and everything's just funny, line after line. And so I started this as a comedic book. It was the first 50 pages, everyone was making jokes. It was very funny. And it also went nowhere. After 50 pages, I had no idea what the book was about, who was the main character, where it would go. And I felt like my brain wasn't old enough to see a longer arc. But it's cool. No one's ever asked me that. And I'd forgotten that it was Tom Drury's The End of Vandalism. It was the beginning. It was supposed to be humor.
Why? Why do you think?
I think I needed a break from writing about my dad. I'd written about his suicide for so long, and it had all been so grim. I wanted to be a different kind of novelist. I wanted to write something fun and bouncy that would be serialized in the New Yorker. I think I had, delusions of grandeur at the time. I was 29 years old, and I thought, I will be great. But at that same time, what happened was that no one would publish my book. So that feeling of I'm going to be great lasted for a month or something. When all the rejections came back, I realized I'm going to be nobody. That was actually my future. And so I actually went to sea and I became a captain. I didn't write for 5.5 years, and I gave up.
Not at all. You didn't
write at all for 5.5 years.
You didn't even try.
No, after failing with the 50 pages of this and not getting the other book published, I was a big baby. I pouted. I was like, fine, you won't publish me? I'll show you. I won't write a thing. The world suffered, mightily.